Finding your fit begins as soon as we're tossed into the sandbox. We're not going to have to go back quite that far, but we do have some young people, 7th graders, as a matter of fact, to help launch us on our way tonight. First up is Michelle Verdugo. Hey, Michelle.
Hi.
Michelle is 12 years old from Sheridan Middle School in Minneapolis, and thanks for taking the time to write a little something for us. Why don't you tell us your story?
An experience of me not fitting in would be when I first came to Minnesota from New Jersey. I felt like I was born again because I had no friends, no knowledge of where I was, and sometimes of who I was. I first came to my new school near the end of 5th grade. I was surprised nobody seemed to really want a new friend. I was also surprised because at my old school everybody treated each other with respect. At this school not everybody treated each other with respect. I felt like nobody wanted me and I didn't belong. I felt unhappy, invisible, and like I couldn't be myself because I was scared of what people might say. In order to fit in, I stopped being scared and shy. When people said something to me, I would reply back, not just stay quiet and walk away. I was going back to being myself. This happened when I met my best friend. She had confidence and was nice. She made me feel like I could be myself. Then I got 4 more really good friends in 6th grade. I felt like I had more confidence and I wasn't scared or shy of being who I was. Since that day, I learned I should always be myself and just hear but not listen to any mean comments. Now I'm in 7th grade and I'm not afraid to express myself or say what I think.
That's Michelle Verdugo. Thanks, Michelle. Now we have another student from Sheridan Middle School. This is Ivy Dyerling. Ivy, thanks for coming on In the Loop. Go ahead and tell us your story.
The time I felt I didn't fit in was last year in 6th grade. I had long hair and I wanted to change that, so I cut my hair into a mohawk. After my hair was cut, I discovered many people didn't like it. I was mistaken for a boy a lot. I'm not easily insulted, so when people said something rude, I would just ignore them. It didn't bother me because that was their opinion, and anyways, it was too late to go back. I had promised myself that anything anyone said wouldn't hurt me. It took a while for my friends to get used to the mohawk, but now I have even more friends, including my friend Mason. We were close before I cut my hair, but afterwards we became closer. I think that was because with my mohawk, I stuck out more. We get along great because, like me, she is different from other people. I'm happy I made that promise to myself. Now I feel even more confident about myself, even though I always have.
That's Ivy Dyerling. Now, Ivy, quick question for you. Somebody told me that your mom gave you a hand with that mohawk. Not everybody's mom would do that. That's pretty cool, Mom. Thanks for coming on the show. Last, we got one more 7th grader, this time from Marcy Open School in Minneapolis, with a poem this time. This is Louisa Lincoln. Hey, Louisa.
Hi.
Now, you wrote this in class just the other day for us, right?
Yeah.
Well, we're very glad you did. Let's hear what you got.
Fitting in. It stinks being new. The teachers always introduce you. How embarrassing. It's horrible being new. You're lost. Nobody will help you. It's torture being new. You go unnoticed. Nobody talks to you. It's embarrassing being new. Everybody looks at you, not in a good way. Then finally, somebody says, hi, sits by you in class. You're not so self-conscious anymore. Somebody to help you with homework. You fit in, finally.
Thank you. That's Louisa Lincoln. Now let's dwell in childhood a little while longer with Jake Scott. Jake is a listener who wrote to us about his experience with our topic tonight, Finding Your Fit. And he can certainly identify with the girls we've just heard from. Jake, thanks for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Now, I understand you grew up yourself as a bit of an outsider.
Yeah, I always sort of straddled that area between fitting in and not fitting in.
What were some of the things that set you apart?
You know, the usual stuff, acne and childhood obesity and extensive pet reptile collection.
Usual stuff, of course. Well, how did things work out for you and the lizards and the snakes?
It was all right. I was eventually able to find a way to fit in using a sense of humor. But I had friends who weren't so lucky.
Yeah, why don't you tell us, to start off with, about your friend Steve?
Sure. As far as I was concerned, Steve was the funniest person in 3rd grade. He was also the ultimate misfit. Kind of had this dorky haircut and he walked funny and he was always doing just bizarre things. One of my first memories of Steve was when he took 2 Crayola washable markers, gave them the names Eric and Susie, then proceeded to act out a steamy love scene between the two on his desk until the teacher saw what he was doing and sent him into the hallway for a timeout. Steve was so awkward that the other kids could hardly help but make fun of him. One day at recess, Steve challenged this popular athletic kid to a foot race around the soccer field. Steve lost, of course, but he said it was because his jeans were too tight, and then he told us that his pants restricted his range of motion, and that he could have won if he'd been allowed to run in his underwear. No matter what he did, or maybe because of what he did, Steve was always an outcast. So he created the Thieves Guild. The Thieves Guild was a top secret club where Steve was in charge. He decided what we did and who got to be involved. I remember when he called me to invite me to the first meeting. When my mom answers the door, you have to tell her the secret password or she won't let you in. The secret password Steve chose was Schwarterfish because, according to him, swordfish would be too easy for someone to guess. The Thieves Guild was an awesome club. We met every Saturday afternoon to play Super Nintendo, read comic books, and plan pranks. One time, Steve wrote this fake diary and circulated it around the classroom. He even used sloppy handwriting and spelling mistakes to make it look more real. The teacher confiscated it and the other kids found out it was fake, but Steve still wrote it up as a success in our club's newsletter. We were proud of our work even if we failed. Soon, more kids wanted to join our club, even some popular ones. Eventually, the Thieves Guild grew to 9 members, and inside the club, everyone thought Steve was cool. In the Thieves Guild, there were no misfits. After 3rd grade, I transferred to a new school and gradually stopped attending meetings. By middle school, the club had disbanded and its members drifted apart. Now I'm a 3rd grade teacher, and I definitely have a couple of Steves in my class. They are the kids who drive the other teachers crazy, but they're my favorites. They just make going to school so much more interesting. Last year, a student transferred into my room. Let's call him Jared. And right away, I could tell he was going to have trouble fitting in. Jared would draw these elaborate pictures of flying toilets attacking cities and make all sorts of weird noises during class. And on Mondays, when I asked the kids how their weekends were, he went on these wild tangents about fighting babies. The kid was definitely odd, but he was a great artist and he was really funny. I wanted my other students to see their new classmate the same way I did. I wanted them to appreciate his differences. So I asked Jared to draw something for me to hang behind my desk. The next day, he handed me a 12 by 18 picture of me being attacked by a giant red flying fish. The other kids saw the picture hanging in the classroom and they loved it. Soon everyone was saying that Jared was the funniest person in our class, and gradually all the other boys started drawing toilets and fish and babies. But there are a lot of other Steves in my class, and not all of them can find a way to fit in, no matter how much I try to help them. Some of them have just been misfits for too long. Hopefully they'll get through their awkward stage, make some good friends, and find their place. I only wish that in the meantime, they could have a Thieves Guild of their own.
That's Jake Scott. Thank you, Jake.